This is Fairhaven United Methodist Church, and our mission statement is a safe haven for all who weather the storm. This church has been moved 4 times due to erosion and things like that. The original church was across the way on the sound side, and then it kept getting flooded, so they hooked it up to a truck and they pulled it over here. Hurricane Irene put about 6 feet of water across the Tri-Village. It was some of the worst flooding that we had ever seen in the Rodanthe Waves and Salvo villages.
So I went to visit them. It's a small, nondescript building, very nice, very attractive, very well maintained, which had been, I discovered, destroyed by a hurricane once, rebuilt. The one thing that was not touched in that church during the hurricane were the stained glass windows.
Well, you have to think about, especially where this church is on Hatteras Island, this is a very narrow sandbar. So the water comes in from the sound and is hopefully going to be sucked out into the ocean when a storm comes up the sound side. But what's happened is we built homes and built big dunes, so when all the sound water comes in, it has no place to exit out of, only in historic inlets. So in this area, there's a historic inlet that helps water to feed out into the ocean when it floods from the sound. So when you have a home that's on ground level on Hatteras Island, it's not a matter of if you're going to get water into it, but when you're going to get water into it.
I walked out of that church going, these people know how to be church. There's a trailer outside that's doing a food pantry. They've been donated a trailer that is mobile restrooms and another one that's mobile washer dryers, because they are the shelter for residents during a hurricane.
What we're looking to do is we're looking to build the first hurricane shelter on Hatteras Island, to have a place right here where people in the midst of the storm can come and be covered in safety.
This sanctuary was built in 1924. Many times I come in this sanctuary and I just stand here and praise God for the people that were so faithful back in 1924, almost 100 years now.
So Asheboro, we had spent some time in the town because First Asheboro had called us to ask us to look at their flow of their building and how it might change it. They're a really strong and growing church.
So welcome to our modern worship center called the Asbury Center here at First United Methodist Church Asheboro. This is the reason that we engaged with Wesley CDC initially. We had renovated this building. This was the bank building that the church had bought for $525,000 about 10 years ago. My first visit here, we stood over here in the corner, we gathered together, we prayed, and I clearly sensed God saying, worship me in this building. And so we renovated in October of 2015. We opened our first Sunday for modern worship, and it was only half of this building. And our first Sunday, I'd been praying for people to come, and I said, Lord, just send us 50 people. And I thought that was a big number. The first Sunday, we had 187 people show up.
You know, in North Carolina, we have over 22 million square feet of real estate. That's a huge platform to begin working from. So we can turn one into a women and children's shelter, and turn one into the $800,000 townhomes that will then go and fund something else. The church is going to look different. You know, it's going to look different.
So in this sanctuary, you can see that it's a traditional sanctuary where with an organ and the pulpit and altarware.
So I went to Calvary, and of course it's a vacant church. We've changed the locks. I'm going to see what we have. And I realized that I wasn't that far away from First Asheboro. As I looked at the building, there's a fellowship hall with a nice kitchen, which could serve as gathering community space. The sanctuary and the education space offered the ability to do something different. So I called Linda Ferguson, who's the pastor of First Asheboro, and said, Linda, would you just come down and walk this with me? And so she came down and we walked around. I said, what can you see happening here?
And so this place here will be transformed into a worship place, probably with a little less traditional worship, but to meet the needs of the community. And we expect that a lot of this worship will be multicultural. So it will include Hispanic worship, Anglo worship, and hopefully other worship, everybody working together and worshiping together.
There's a big conversation right now that there's a crisis in the United Methodist Church in terms of real estate. We don't see it that way. We see that the church is going through a transformation, and it is remaking itself, and that there is a huge opportunity to leverage the resources that generations before us have put together, and use those resources to make us stronger and more impactful in the community.